Hello everyone, in this video we are going to talk about linear inequalities in two variables. So basically what we are going to do is we'll have two lines, okay, and then we will use slope-intercept form to figure out how they would look like, either the graph or the equations. One of them is going to be given, we are going to figure out the other one, and then on top of this, so far thus far we have learned everything. In this part we are gonna shade the area. Some part of the coordinate some part of the graph is going to be shaded. We will do it twice, one for each line, and then we are gonna see in what area they meet. So let's take a look at the first question. Choose the system of inequalities that best matches the graph below. We have two lines, so usually the y-intercept tells us more than enough. Let's see what the y-intercepts are going to tell us for this question. So let me find a color that is not going to, okay, blue. Okay, this is the y-intercept of the red line. It is +4. B stands for the y-intercept. In here, y equals mx plus b. That's the slope-intercept form. M is the slope, B is the y-intercept. So for one of them, the last number is going to be +4. For the other, the y-intercept is going to be -2. So let's B equals -2. So then again, the graph, one graph is going to end with +4, the other one is going to end with -2. So -2, -2, so this is not my answer. -2, +4, this could be my answer. -2, +4 could be my answer. +2, +4, not my answer. So just by looking at the vertical point of intersections, I eliminated two of the answers. Now let's talk about the differences between B and C. Okay. I see one difference, I see two differences. Okay. If I ask you out of the red or blue line on the coordinate plane, which one is raising? One of them is going up from left to right, the other one is going down. Okay? So the red one is going down, blue one is going up. So it's raising. So let's just talk about that equation, okay? I want to talk about this right here. It's y. I'll have a sign. I'm not worried about the sign right now. I'm just talking about the line, okay? The sign tells me what area I need to shade. So on top of that, blue line is shaded, but I'm not worried about it. So far, I'm just talking about the line, the blue line itself. So it is y equals mx plus 4. So it's either this one here or that one here. I'm talking about either one of those. In one of them, the slope is +2. Right in here, the slope is +2 because it is 2x, and in here, the slope is -2. So positive slope looks like this kind of a line. Go up, negative slope tells you to go down. But look at our orange or blue line. Isn't it going up? From left to right, it goes up. So that orange equation cannot be -2x. It must be +2x. We are not even solving anything. We are just doing process of elimination. Because solving takes longer, I just want to eliminate as many options as possible, so then I can kind of like compare them and contrast and see which one is the answer. So that must be my answer, okay? Because there's no other way. Because I know now that this is not the answer. So the only one that makes sense is B. So we are going to have questions where we cannot do this for all of the three answers. So we will need to solve it anyways. I'm going to leave that to the side, and right now I'm showing you how you can kind of use your prior knowledge by learning nothing new, how you can solve these questions. Okay, I haven't talked about shading anything. I just went over the stuff that we learned before. Okay, moving on to the next part. Let's just scroll down to number 2. A good question. Okay, now let's see this one. So let me compare and contrast question 1 versus question 2. Okay, you see that the line is that dotted, right? It's a dashed line, it is not a solid line, versus in question number 1 we had both of the lines solid. It is that solid line tells you you have an equal sign underneath your greater than or less than sign. So that's why these options were all greater than or equal. They could have put less than or equal to, but you need an equal sign underneath when you have a solid line. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, if you have a dashed line, you cannot put an equal sign underneath. So that tells me this cannot be my answer, that cannot be my answer, because line is not continuous. It's not a solid line. So now I have two options, either A or D. Now let's focus on the difference between them. So the right side is the same. They both represent the same line. Negative 2x tells you that it goes down to right 1, down to right 1. This means down to right 1. When we talk about rise over run as your slope. And then that negative 2 is your y-intercept. So the graph starts from the y-intercept, negative 2, and then it goes down to right 1, down to right 1. It's the same for A and D. So then how do we figure it out? Because like if these are the same, what do we do? Now we focus on the sign that we didn't focus on in number 1 because we didn't need to. Now we are going to learn something new. So when it says y is less than negative 2x minus 2, then we are talking about on the y-axis. Look at that orange point on the graph. This sign tells you to shade below the y-intercept. That means less than. Y is less than. The y is that vertical axis. That's your y. And if that number is going to be less than the line, it's going to be smaller than the line. So the line is right here, right there is your line. If you're going to shade below the y-intercept, you should shade over here, that area. All that area should be shaded like this. Okay? You're shading one side of the whole line, even though I said like shade below, that doesn't make sense. It's just like a small portion of like one side of the line. You gotta shade the whole side, okay? That's how it works. It's either this yellow side or the white side. So we continue shading. So this would be our answer right here. Versus, let's just talk about the other one. What would the other one mean? Y is greater than negative 2x minus 2. If it is greater than, if y is greater than, it tells you shade above the line. Okay, shade above the line. Above the line or above the y-intercept. So what does that mean? Your line is up here. If you're going to shade above it, obviously this is where you need to shade. And that's not what we have, which is why D is not our answer. Okay? So we are going step by step, trying to use our prior knowledge first to solve the question. If not possible, then we are building on what we learned. So this is the first concept that we learned as a new thing in this video. The area where we need to shade with the sign greater than, less than, or greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Now let's just check the next question out. Which system of inequalities is represented by the graph below? One way of doing this is you can go to Desmos and then type A and see if it is the same as this graph. If not, move on to B and then type those in. If not, go ahead and until you find the right one, keep typing them in and try to match them up with the graph you have. So the other way, which is the way I'm using, is process of elimination. Find the y-intercepts first. So the y-intercept of this guy over here is 0, right there. The y-intercept for the red line equals to 0, which means you're not going to have a number in the end. It's going to be like 5x, that's it, plus 0. You don't need to put like plus 0 minus 0. And then for the blue one, it's the y-intercept is right there, over here. Okay, and then that means positive 2. So one of the lines is going to have plus 2 in the end, the other one is not going to have a number. Plus 2, no number for A. That could be our answer. This could be the answer. That could be the answer. Or that could be the answer. So it didn't help us at all. So the y-intercept in this question did not help us. Now, let's focus on the slopes, okay? Because both of the lines are going up. Red one is going up, blue one is going up. Their slopes must be positive. If we have a negative slope, that's not going to be our answer. But looking at the answers, they have like 2x, 1/5 x for all of the questions, and then there's 5x, 1/2 x. They're all positive. That didn't help. What are we doing? Let's just find the exact slopes then. Okay, that's going to help. That should help us. So the slope of the red line, we already have one point at 0, and then you need to find another point, which is right here. And then we are going to figure the slope out by using these 2 points. We are finding the rise over run for the red line, right? How many units should we raise? From one point to the other, I'm counting 5. So if I go up 5 and then right 1, I will end up at the other point. This tells me my equation is going to be like y equals 5x, because it is mx plus b, and then the b was plus 0. So this is one of the equations, y equals 5x. But we don't have equations, remember that. We haven't figured out what sign we have yet, looking at the area that we shaded. We are just talking about the line, y and 5x. So that's not the right one, not the right one. It's either C or D, right? Now let's focus on the difference between them, because we don't want to find something that is in common in both of the answers. That's going to be a waste of time. So looking at them, the only difference that I'm realizing is this. Y is greater than, Y is less than. Everything else is the same. Now we need to figure out which one is right. So just focus on the differences if you don't want to spend forever. So I'm glad that we are working on, the difference is about the line that we have been working on. It was just a coincidence. Now just focus on that red line, okay, L2. The area that is shaded is right here. Is that area below that y-intercept, which is right at the center of the coordinate plane, the area that I shaded? Is it below or above that one? Because the whole thing over here is shaded, okay? And I'm shading below the line. This area is lower than the line. The line is above the area that I shaded. So that means my sign is going to be less than. So instead of this, my sign is going to be less than, since I'm shading below the red line, 5x. However, it's a solid line. It is not a dashed line. So I need this. And the answer that has that inequality is D. That would be my answer. Okay? Now, let's see if there is any different kind of a question. That's the same. This is just about matching the words you have. For this, it's exactly the same. Either use Desmos to compare and contrast the graphs that are given in here. Look at the graphs. Look at the signs. They are solid lines because they have equal. So x cannot be your answer. Z cannot be your answer. It's either one of these two. Lines are the same. The only difference is the area that are shaded. That way you can figure out which one is your answer. Okay, let's see these ones. They're all the same. You can, for this one, you can either use the method that I have been showing you or get on Desmos, type A, see if it is the same. Type A cannot be the same because the sign means dashed line. A and D should be crossed out right away. Your answer is going to be either B as in boy or C. So let me see if there is. No, they're all similar. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in another video.